We live from day to day, not knowing what a high tide or a hurricane is going to do to this community. It's very scary, but by the grace of God, I ain't going no place.
With more than 500 miles of coastline, few cities in America are more vulnerable to sea level rise than New York. By 2050, city officials estimate at least 800,000 New Yorkers will be living in a high-risk floodplain. By 2080, nearly a third of the city's landmass could face significant flooding, endangering more than 1.4 million New Yorkers. And New Yorkers don't have to imagine what that could look like because they caught a terrifying glimpse of what's to come in 2012. After Superstorm Sandy flooded 17% of the city's landmass, killing 43 people and causing more than $19 billion in damage.
I never thought water could do that kind of damage.
One of the hardest hit neighborhoods was the coastal community of Edgemere.
It literally looked like the ancient ruins of Rome.
Located along the Rockaway Peninsula, Edgemere is a working-class community sandwiched by Jamaica Bay on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other. And when Sandy struck, water flooded in from both sides.
We were actually in the ocean at the height of Hurricane Sandy. The water, I would say, was about this high. The ocean and the bay were one and the same. So whatever was in your house was the ocean and the bay.
But it's what happened in Edgemere after Superstorm Sandy that has some experts concerned about New York City's long-term ability to prepare for rising seas.
Edgemere, especially the portion towards the bay, is still highly vulnerable. If a superstorm were to happen next month, the same exact issues would occur in Edgemere as they occurred in Superstorm Sandy.
You see, more than a decade after the city pledged to fortify Edgemere, little has been done to protect the community from flooding.
It's 13 years since Superstorm Sandy, and yet and still no flood mitigation on the bay side. They're still fortifying Manhattan, so where's the investment for Edgemere?
Instead, the city asked some of the most vulnerable residents to relocate through a voluntary buyout program.
If they can invest in other communities, raising up the shoreline, why can't they do the same thing to Edgemere? Why does it have to be where people give up their homes?
And despite the lack of flood protections, the city is building new housing towers in Edgemere.
So they're developing the whole neighborhood, but I think people feel they just want our land, and then they're going to build something that's 3-4 times as expensive and build a whole new community on the coast.
And this is why what's happening in Edgemere is so important, because like so many places in New York and the nation as a whole, Edgemere is caught between the climate crisis on one side and the housing crisis on the other.
The fact that Edgemere may be considered as the last bastion of affordable housing in New York City, considering all the flood-prone issues that it has, I think is ridiculous.
So to understand how Edgemere got here and what its story could say about so many working-class coastal communities around the country, we have to go back decades. This all starts in the 1930s.
How are you, Commissioner?
When the powerful urban planner, Robert Moses, began envisioning Edgemere and the Rockaways in general as a far-off place to concentrate the city's poor. By the 50s, the city began buying up swaths of land in Edgemere, bulldozing homes to make room for public housing towers. Some got built, but most of the city lots have remained empty ever since, as multiple urban renewal projects failed to fully develop the area over the years.
All of the services that were promised as part of the urban renewal were also not delivered. None of the schools or the healthcare services that a community needs.
There was promises of supermarkets, promises of retail stores, shops. Nothing came.
Instead, residents of Edgemere found themselves living in an underserved community peppered with empty land.
Seeing these lots vacant is very depressing to me. People come from outside of the community and dump because they feel that nobody cares. You don't even get sanitation to come and clean these lots or clean the sidewalk. We're the forgotten. We are forgotten here.
Jackie Rogers moved to Edgemere in 2007. Like many residents, she arrived here through a city-run affordable housing initiative.
When we bought into Edgemere, nobody spoke about this community being a flood-prone community. Nobody ever said that in a couple of years this community will be underwater.
And that sense of neglect among Edgemere residents only hardened after Hurricane Sandy.
We were the last community to get any post-Sandy recovery services.
There was a long time we didn't have lights, people's gas wasn't working. You know, the stores were closed because they had the same kind of damage. And it was a surreal feeling because a lot of the rest of New York City, they had a storm for a day and a half. They went back to normal.
Many Edgemere residents told me that the community never fully recovered after Sandy, despite decade-old promises made by the city as part of the Resilient Edgemere Community Planning Initiative. The goal of the 2015 program was to reduce flooding in Edgemere.
A lot of promises were made, $14 million to raise the Edgemere shoreline along the bay side. That money was taken away from Edgemere without Edgemere community members knowing about it.
The city upgraded drainage systems, raised more than 100 homes, and fortified the oceanside boardwalks as part of the plan. But a crucial protection feature that promised to raise the shoreline along Edgemere's bayside was dropped.
We want that money back. We want it reinvested back in our community. We want our shoreline to be raised.
I understand the frustration of Edgemere residents, and I think that what we're talking about with this plan is really challenging compromises.
Michael Sandler works for the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, the city agency behind the plan. At this point in time, 10 years later, do you consider the plan a success?
That's a great question. I think that the plan will be a success. I don't consider the plan to be complete. And I think the plan has taken much longer to implement than we would have preferred. And we've had some significant setbacks. It has been 10 years. The coastal protection feature is still not there. We're coming up on the peak of hurricane season right now, and there isn't a coastal protection feature. And I think that residents in the neighborhood are right to be concerned about what the future looks like. That said, I think that we have invested a lot in the community. We have a lot in the works right now that is coming in terms of community improvements.
The city is now relying on a federal Army Corps of Engineers project to protect Edgemere's bayside. But the project has remained in the design phase for years. And with the Trump administration's attitude towards mitigating the risks of climate change, few are expecting the project to move forward anytime soon.
It's not happening. Nobody is looking to do anything along this bay to address the constant flooding of Jamaica Bay.
And while Edgemere waits on the Army Corps, the city has begun raising shorelines around Lower Manhattan as part of a $2.7 billion mega infrastructure project known as the Big U. The Big U aims to wrap the island's entire southern tip and protect it from future floods. The project is considered one of the most ambitious coastal protection efforts in the country, but for residents of Edgemere, it's just another city service they aren't seeing in their neighborhood.
Everybody deserves the same amount of protection. No one population or demographic deserves more protection than the other.
And while the city hasn't been able to find a way to build a coastal protection feature along Edgemere's bayside, the buyout portion of the plan did go forward.
We were really pulling back and trying for the first time in New York City some form of managed retreat from the shoreline.
Ultimately, though, just 7 of the roughly 50 residents that were offered a buyout took the city up on the deal.
We saw mixed uptake. We had homeowners who were not interested in leaving.
And that certainly tracks with my experience in Edgemere, because despite the frequent flooding, few of the residents I spoke with actually wanted to move.
No, I never thought of that.
Including Baba Indanani, whose home is located directly beside the bay and is threatened with every high tide.
You come to at the bottom of this deck. Literally will come up to this level.
During Hurricane Sandy, he saw his home filled with ocean water.
It came about this level. Yeah, so which is about 5 feet. So imagine that.
He spent 2 weeks sleeping on his refrigerator.
There's nothing for me to sleep on. I have nowhere to go. That's the only place I can stay. It was horrible. Everything shut down, business shut down. And the worst thing is not to get help coming in.
But even he has no intention of ever leaving Edgemere.
Even with everything that happened, I love the scenery. I love the environment. It's good. That's why I'm still here. Okay, that's why I'm still here.
It may seem difficult to understand why someone like Baba would be reluctant to leave such a flood-prone location behind, but data shows he's far from alone. Research has repeatedly shown that few people actually relocate after experiencing a natural disaster, less than 10% according to one study. Those that do move are usually higher income households that can afford to do so, and their departure can lower the community's tax base, trapping low-income households in flood zones with fewer resources to recover and guard against future flooding. Essentially, communities like Edgemere are often left hoping for the best and doing what they can to prepare for the worst.
This is a garden by the bay. We're a 15,000 square foot community garden.
Despite the risks and history of neglect in Edgemere, Jackie's Community Garden, a place where the residents are literally putting down roots, shows just how much some residents are determined to stay put.
And maybe I'm a dreamer. I don't believe it's going to be underwater. Even though the scientist says it is, I want to believe that this is going to be a thriving community. I'm still holding out hope that prevailing minds, prevailing hearts, and the right investors will come in and say, this has potential. Let's get this done.